The Harley Davidson factory, constructed over a century ago in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, currently serves as the company's corporate headquarters. It is a little over 3 miles from the Harley Davidson Museum. Harley Davidson's founders built their first motorcycles in a small shed behind the Davidson family home. The modest structure fit the company's modest beginnings. In 1906, the founders moved into their first purpose-built factory, and their output increased dramatically, with 50 motorcycles sold that year. This new wooden structure was built a block north of the original shed. Production tripled to 150 motorcycles in 1907, the year the Harley-Davidson Motor Company was incorporated. By the end of 1907, the fledgling company had 17 employees and was expanding the first wooden factory. Production in their completed 2-story factory tripled again in 1908 to 450 motorcycles. In 1909, with sales passing the 1,000 mark, the first bricks were laid for a large addition. The building that would become the largest motorcycle factory in the country was constructed in stages between 1910 and 1913. As production continued to double year after year, the familiar wedge-shaped brick building on what is now Juneau Avenue came together like a jigsaw puzzle. For 4 years, night and day, construction was almost constant. As soon as one building was finished, another one was started. While contractors were finishing the upper stories, lower floors were already in use. Temporary structures were built and torn down, and off-site buildings were leased so motorcycle production could continue quickly. By the end of 1913, the building was completed, including the entry that is still used today. The rapidly growing company took a break from construction for a few years as it refined its operations and continued to increase production. Following World War I, construction began anew. 4 more buildings were completed over the next 3 years. Over a single decade, the company had gone from Midwest upstart to global success story. By 1920, the Harley-Davidson Motor Company was the largest motorcycle manufacturer in the world, producing over 27,000 motorcycles and selling them in 67 different countries. As the automobile took over the global personal transportation market, Harley's rate of expansion slowed. 3 additions over the next 5 years filled out the structure, and in 1926, the modern factory was complete. The pace of change inside the walls of the Juneau factory was as rapid as the construction process itself. The size and shape of the factory was set by the mid-1920s, but the activities within changed dramatically over the decades. New tools, equipment, and processes were required as technology advanced and Harley-Davidson motorcycles evolved. Production increased dramatically to meet military demands during World War II. Anticipating increased demand following the war, Harley purchased a new factory building in nearby Butler, Wisconsin, and shifted some machining operations there. The portion of the factory known as the 3800 building was converted for assembly of the post-war lightweight motorcycles and motor scooters. In the mid-1960s, production ceased for smaller motorcycles, and the building was gradually converted to storage and shipping. Production of Sportster motorcycles continued in the main factory building until 1973, when motorcycle assembly at the Juneau factory ended. The newly converted factory in York, Pennsylvania took over those operations and much more. Styling, design, and experimental engineering stayed at Juneau, along with corporate functions and service school, now known as Harley-Davidson University. During the 1970s, buildings were modified to better serve their new purposes. And in the 1980s, new operations like the Harley Owners Group moved in. Each decade has seen interior renovations and modifications to keep pace with the evolution of the company and the business world. While the interior changes have been substantial, care has been taken to maintain the original structure and exterior. In 1994, the Juneau factory building was recognized as a historic place worthy of preservation by its placement on the National Register of Historic Places. Harley-Davidson's pride in its heritage, accomplishment, and hometown is evident in the current state of the buildings and in the fact that the company has remained in Milwaukee. These buildings, constructed with resolve during Harley-Davidson's founding era, are the foundation of the company's success, which continues into its 2nd century.